I'm copying Mother Nature. It's been around for how long, right? They know how to do their own thing. If you start messing it and start doing it your way, you don't have to babysit it, especially with a raised bed. It gets too dry sometimes, gets too hot sometimes, gets too hot, too cold sometimes. So now I'm doing half raised bed and half underground. Welcome to OK Solution. We talk about soil and the depth of the soil for your garden. Raised bed, you might want to keep like a foot of soil. But for me, I like to mix half raised bed and half ground. Basically, I would dig like a foot from the ground, and then I put like a wall like you see back there, but actually that's a foot down, and then I put like half a foot on top of that. Because if you're just doing a raised bed, the gravity, it pulls everything down, and it seeps everywhere. All the nutrients is wasted. I live in the desert, so there's caliche, there's clay, there's rock, there's all those things. And if you put a liner, then sometimes it gets like stinky, it's rot. The water didn't escape. Sometimes it rains too much. So lots of headache how to do it. Some say put like dry leaf and branches and all that. So I went to, I have a video about how to go and buy a bunch of those material really cheap. Basically, the HOA, when they do the leaf, they need the place to put it. And so the government has an area where they dump and then they let it rot and decay, and then you can just buy it in bulk. It's so much cheaper than Home Depot and Lowe's, because Home Depot and Lowe's, just a small bag is like $2 or $3. But if you go to those places, you can get like a yard. So it's like a whole truck, and it's like $20-$30. So you can just buy the cheapest one, like the leaf and the branches, and put it on the bottom, and then you can put the normal soil, and then the topsoil. The topsoil is going to cost you a little bit more, maybe $35 or so. But that's on the next video. I'll talk more in depth about it. But so if you do it like that way, it's great too. If you're doing a raised bed and then just leaf and then that and then topsoil. But with this way that you see, I'm copying Mother Nature. It's been around for how long, right? They know how to do their own thing. If you start messing it and start doing it your way, you don't have to babysit it, especially with a raised bed. It gets too dry sometimes, gets too hot sometimes, gets too hot, too cold sometimes. So now I'm doing half raised bed and half underground. So if I water too much, it just seeps down and it goes down. And on the ground, sometimes there may be some beneficial fungus that's been there but it's been dormant. You might bring it back to life, Eventually they will tunnel in, and it brings its own microbe. That's also good for your plant. There's many benefits to growing it using Mother Nature instead of messing it with a raised bed. Sometimes it gets stinky, and then you don't want to deal with that. So dig like a foot deep, half a foot on top of it. Water as much as you want. If it's too much water, it just seeps straight down. Doesn't go anywhere. Especially if you live in the desert, there's caliche. Sometimes there's sand. Well, sometimes sand it will go, but most of the time, if you notice your ground is caliche, it should be fine. If it's sand, then start going to the places I talked on the other video, and buy those wood chips and leaf and just put it on the bottom. And after a year later, it starts to rot, and eventually it becomes fertilizer and food for your tree, and it also absorbs the water. What I like to use is a bunch of wood, like dry wood, especially if it's more than a year. When it's soaked, it acts like a sponge. It's great. The half raised bed and half not raised bed hybrid technique. And if you're actually putting like big wood on the bottom, Hugelkultur. I put another video on it to talk about Hugelkultur, how it can benefit you and save you time in the long run. So if you want to grow like citrus trees and lemon trees and like cherry and stuff, you want to do about 4 feet in every direction, like diameter, and then about 4 feet deep. If you can, go to about 5 or 6 feet deep. it's going to do wonder for your garden. If you can't, 4 feet will be a good in depth. And if you can go deeper, do 5 feet, do 6 feet, do 7 feet. Put a bunch of old wood on the bottom, some leaf and everything, and then some soil, some fertilizer. Mix half and half for what you have, because you don't want it to have like good soil, and then when they like it, it's gonna get root bound. So that's why you want to mix half and half of the soil that you have around you, especially when you dig it out. Just mix half and half of that, and your plant will learn to accept it, and it will grow out. But it won't really grow out that way yet, because it's nicer to go down, and you have like 7 feet to go down, and it's gonna be great. 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, there's still a lot of food, a lot of nutrients. It's gonna do great. Now if you do it 4 feet, in about 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, all the nutrients gonna be sucked up. Then you have to go this way. So if you do about 4 feet, in about 2 or 3 years, a lot of the nutrients is gone. So you have two choices. If you mix it well enough, half and half, then it may go this way, and it may go down. But if you don't do it well enough, it's gonna get root bound, and it's gonna suffocate. So a lot of the landscaper will tell you it's hard to garden in the desert, because 4 years, orange trees and lemon tree, they will get root bound, and they will tilt over and they die. Well, because they didn't do the ground properly, you know. And you're supposed to want to water it correctly too. When you first dig a hole about 4 feet by 4 feet, or 4 feet by 6 feet, you want to water it like every other day, but you want to water a lot, like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, until the water seeps all the way down. So eventually it understands that water down there, so the tap root is going to go all the way down. And when you dig about 6 or 7 feet in your backyard, there's water down there. It's really wet and moist. You know, one time I dug down that deep, oh my god, you can squeeze it up and it's water. It's like a sponge, you know, top's dry, the corner's dry, but inside the very bottom is wet. So if you do it 7 feet, you're helping it out, because in 7 years you're done. You don't ever have to water again. If you do it like this, the first year you water one day a lot, you skip another day, you water a lot, you skip another day. The second year you can just do like water once a week, and then third year you just watch it, and then you understand there's stuff down there. The tap root's gonna go all the way down, and you don't have to water ever again. You know, if you do about 6 or 7 feet deep. But if you do it 4 feet, then you kind of have to babysit it for a long time. You know, you gotta watch it. So a lot of plants, like vegetables and flowers, 1 foot would do it. I just want to be safe. I do 1.5 feet. And for those grapefruit trees and the other one, like mango and stuff, do about 4 feet in diameter and about 4 feet deep. Recommended, you know, it's best for you if you do 6 or 7 feet, but it's gonna cost you a lot of money and a lot of soils and mixture. So please click on the video of how to save money when gardening. That will talk about where to get the soil much cheaper. In the past, I didn't know. I buy everything from Home Depot and Low and waste a lot of money. So gardening is a way of learning how to connect to nature and how to be healthy, but you also don't want to be broke, you know. So gardening smart is the way to go. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. It's hot today, so yeah, that's why I'm going like this. Well, see you later.